This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. It was sudden, powerful, and deadly. On a highway in Iraq's western desert, a suicide attacker in a car packed with explosives raced into a U.S. Marine convoy and detonated his bomb. 7 Marines were killed. It's the worst single day for American forces in Iraq since early May. This attack pushed the total number of American troops killed in the Iraq War to at least 989. CBS's Barry Peterson reports it underscored the many problems still facing American forces in Iraq.
The suicide car bomb targeted a U.S. convoy outside Fallujah in a vicious part of Iraq where U.S. military control has long since vanished. Fallujah is where 4 U.S. contractors were massacred, then hanged from a bridge. Where Americans fought fierce battles with insurgents last April, the U.S. withdrawal left behind a population now living under the iron-fisted rule of Islamic fundamentalists. In Fallujah, they have created what some call a Taliban-like existence, where crimes are punished by beheadings, and working with Americans is a death sentence.
It is certainly a no-go area for the authorities in Iraq, and it's been a no-go area since the fall of Saddam.
It is part of Iraq's Sunni heartland, where tribal warlords and religious leaders are the only rule of law, and where terrorists stage attacks like this one today, sometimes trained by outside experts.
And the no-go zones provide a base for quite small numbers of foreign fighters that come in and out.
Fallujah is rapidly becoming a high-profile litmus test of American military power. A major assault is being planned to pacify the city in time for Iraqi elections early next year. If it fails, Fallujah and a dozen other cities could be excluded from the political process. Should that happen, Iraq's new democracy will be born with built-in enemies vowing to make their power felt not with ballots but with bullets, aimed, as they were again today, at U.S. soldiers all across this country. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Baghdad.
In this country, at least 4 people are dead in the wake of Hurricane Francis, and millions of others in Florida are without power. Damage is estimated in the billions and still rising. And now it's the second wave. After finally passing through Florida into the Gulf of Mexico, Francis made landfall again today on Florida's panhandle as a tropical storm, a very large one. It could dump torrential rains far inland and spin off tornadoes with wide impact on travel and the economy. And already the next hurricane, a potentially dangerous one, is building out at sea. CBS's Lee Cowan begins our hurricane coverage.
The Florida sun was barely up, and already confusion ruled the streets as Francis-weary residents poured out of their weekend bunkers, hunting for dwindling supplies. Millions spent more than 48 long hours hunkered indoors as Francis slogged her way inland, turning holiday playgrounds into a soggy, battered mess. What did it sound like out here?
Like a jet engine all night long.
As many as 3 million people are still without power. What isn't in the dark is drenched. West Palm Beach, near where Francis made landfall, saw more than a foot of rain. Daytona was swimming in more than 9 inches. Melbourne didn't fare much better. And Tampa's totals were rising by the hour as Tropical Storm Francis made her slow spin to the north.
It's Mother Nature, nothing we can do about that.
She remains as persistent as ever. As Francis made landfall again this morning along the Florida Panhandle, she brought 65-mile-an-hour winds and even more rain. Later tonight, she'll be dousing Alabama and Georgia, then the Carolinas. By the end of the week, her rains could affect areas as far north as the Great Lakes. But by the time that happens, another hurricane could be bearing down on Florida. Terrible Ivan, as he's being called, a Category 3, is already racing toward the Caribbean.
The atmospheric conditions seem to be very favorable for this storm to remain as a major hurricane above Category 3, potentially Category 4, Category 5 when it finally reaches land.
If it does, Ivan would be the 4th storm in 5 weeks to come ashore here in Florida, one of the busiest periods since the mid-30s, and we're not even at the peak of hurricane season yet. Dan?
Lee Cowan on Florida's Gulf Coast tonight. Former President Bill Clinton is recovering tonight from heart bypass surgery at a New York City hospital. Surgeons expect Mr. Clinton to make a full recovery. And CBS News medical correspondent Elizabeth Caledon reports the doctors also say it's a good thing Mr. Clinton didn't ignore the symptoms he had.
President Clinton's surgical team assembled late this afternoon to give the details of a 4-hour operation they say went smoothly.
He is recovering normally at this point, so I think right now everything looks straightforward.
The 58-year-old former president required quadruple bypass surgery and had to be placed on an artificial pump while his own heart was stopped for just over an hour.
There was a substantial likelihood that he would have had a substantial heart attack in the near future. And that was the reason for the time urgency of what was done.
Clinton had extensive blockage of up to 90% in some blood vessels. In the bypass surgery, doctors took arteries and a vein from his chest and leg and used them to bypass the blockage and create a new source of blood flow to the heart. More than 300,000 bypass surgeries are done every year, and according to Jeffrey Gold, a cardiac surgeon, recovery depends on the individual.
What sort of factor does age have?
Only a good one. And it should age and stamina and a vibrant drive such as he has, I predict are going to get him wanting to be involved in things. There's a limit to how long he can watch the wallpaper in his home.
Still, Mr. Clinton's sudden onset of illness is a cautionary tale. He had heart disease in his family and a now legendary appetite for fast food, but he was also an avid jogger, took cholesterol-lowering drugs, and had recently lost about 20 pounds. It's a vivid reminder, says Dr. Gold, that heart disease takes decades to develop, and sometimes it's too late to change it with diet and lifestyle.
What the surgeons have done for him is they've turned the clock back. They haven't stopped it. So he will redevelop all of these same problems all over again if he doesn't watch his lifestyle.
Former President Clinton is expected to remain here in the hospital for about 5 days before heading home. His doctors say there's no reason he won't make a full recovery within about 6 to 8 weeks, and his activities, including campaigning, shouldn't be interrupted in any way if he's back on his feet by November. Dan?
Elizabeth Caledon at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Thanks. We'll be back in a minute with more news.
After 3 days. Yep, 3 days. Really, 3 days. Crest White Strips Premium. Whiter teeth after just 3 days. Full results after 7. Why wait? Crest White Strips Premium. Part of the Crest Dental Plan for healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
Remember that guy who used to be called Wild Thing? Yeah, that guy. He's back. Ask your doctor if Viagra's right for you.
Heartburn on rye.
That's more than heartburn. That pressure and bloating is gas.
And we don't treat gas.
I do. Fast heartburn plus gas relief. That's Maalox Max.
Thanks, Max.
Maalox Max. When you have it all, treat it all.
If you have rheumatoid arthritis, your vocabulary is about to change.
It's so good to have my enthusiasm back.
I'm enjoying things again.
And it's because of Enbrel.
Even with RA, I've got my energy back.
For many, Enbrel has dramatically reduced the pain, stiffness, and fatigue of moderate to severe RA and inhibited the progression of joint damage for 5 full years. Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections, so don't start it if you have one. Tell your doctor if you're prone to them or if you've been treated for heart failure or if you experience persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness while on Enbrel. Serious, sometimes fatal events including infections, lymphoma, nervous system, and blood disorders have occurred. Common side effects included injection site reaction, infection, and headache.
I never envisioned doing this again.
Envision your possibilities. Ask your rheumatologist about Enbrel.
Sorry, I was driving too fast.
No, my fault. You must be gelling, like Magellan.
Dr. Scholl's massaging gel insoles are so soft, they make any shoe feel outrageously comfortable. Are you gelling? Dr. Scholl's.
1, 2, 3, 4!
In the presidential campaign this Labor Day, Democrat John Kerry focused on jobs and the economy, and in a counterattack through states that could swing either way. CBS's Byron Pitts reports Senator Kerry let President Bush have it hard.
This shotgun was a gift, but the metaphor was clear. The race for the White House is now so nasty, so fierce, and more Democrats are so worried. Senator John Kerry could well use a weapon.
It all comes down to one letter, W. George W. Bush. And the W stands for wrong.
So today, a more focused and fiery John Kerry took the stage. Shorter speech, simpler concepts.
Of all of George Bush's wrong choices, the most catastrophic one is the mess in Iraq.
Kerry's weapon of choice, the issues, he says, which separate him from the president.
On every issue, from Iraq to health care, jobs, education, this president's taken America in the wrong direction.
And that's the rub on Kerry for many Democrats. He has to do a better job fighting for himself before he'll ever convince voters. He'll fight for them. He fought off a heckler in Pennsylvania who took issue with his wealth.
And me just to answer that guy, because he's right, I'm privileged. My tax burden went down, and I don't think that's right. I think your tax burden ought to go down. And the fact is, George W. Bush and I fit in the same category of privilege. But the fact is, he has a different view about life.
The Kerry campaign believes this issue-oriented strategy will give their campaign new life. It's part of the advice he received from former President Bill Clinton over the weekend. From his sickbed, he reminded Kerry, many in America are angry with George Bush, soothed that anger with real issues, especially the economy, and America will respond. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Charleston, West Virginia.
As for the response from President Bush, he also campaigned in swing states today, including a stop this evening in Missouri. Mr. Bush jumped all over the new attack from Kerry about the war in Iraq, part of a continuing effort to try to portray Kerry as a flip-flopper. A hopeful part of our world tonight. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com, brought to you in part by Walmart, where you can find everything you and your family need at everyday low prices. Walmart, always low prices, always. Campaign issues from both sides. What does it mean to you? Tomorrow, experience CBS News.
From your news and information leader. This is News Channel 5 at 6.
Good evening. They've never found her body. Still, the courts have ruled Janet March is dead. But tonight, in a story you're seeing first on 5, Perry March thinks his wife may be alive in Europe. And he says he's turned the evidence over to the Davidson County District Attorney. As News Channel 5's Nick Barris shows us, Perry March thinks he spotted Janet March in a recent photograph.
Janet March disappeared without a trace 8 years ago. The courts eventually declared her dead, though no body was ever found. Now, in the latest twist to this bizarre case, Janet's husband, Perry March, himself a suspect in her disappearance, thinks his wife is alive.
The facts are that we're living a tragedy, which is, my wife disappeared. We don't know what happened.
But now March, who lives in Mexico, says he might have an idea, and it centers around this photograph taken at the recent Olympics in Athens, Greece. It ran in a Hispanic newspaper.
My jaw dropped. I mean, it's a spitting image.
March believes